Come on, John. Come back to us, buddy.
Charging to 250.
John, don't you do this to me.
Clear.
I think it's safe to say at this point that the Driver series is dead. And I hate having to say that. This video is an open letter to Ubisoft. And I mean anyone at Ubisoft who is willing to listen. That includes Ubisoft Reflections, the company that made the original Driver. Because I have some things to say. It was brought to my attention yesterday that Driver San Francisco is no longer available to buy anywhere. This was thanks to a video by Nick Robinson, and he currently has a petition going to get Driver back on Uplay. But I want to delve into this a little bit because this is something that kind of surprised me. Why did I say at the start of the video that I personally think Driver is dead? Well, Driver 1 came out all the way back in June of 1999, over 20 years ago now, and they did nothing for the 20th anniversary of one of my favourite gaming series of all time. You could have just made a HD remake, like literally, I would have been all over that. I would have made countless videos on it. And I understand that maybe the companies that buy the developers that made those original games maybe don't have the same visions that that developer once had. That's how the industry works. But letting Driver die in this way is one of the saddest ways that it could go. And I'm passionate about this. This was my life growing up. I loved Driver 1. Driver 1 was the game that I would come back from school every day and play. I made a review on the original Driver back in I think 2016, and I'm going to show you the end of that review. To say Driver 1 shaped my childhood would be an absolute understatement. It shaped my entire life. The chases I do on YouTube were inspired hugely by those endless weekends and evenings after school that I just sat there and ran from the cops trying to beat my best time. Do I recommend Driver 1? Yes. It's simply one of the best games ever made. That still stands now. That game is still fantastic. Just take a look at the intro sequence for the original Driver. This was a brand new IP, but look at the amount of detail in that opening sequence. This was a true, passionate love letter to the 70s car chase movies of old. Looking at stuff like The Driver, which the game took an awful lot from, including sound effects. I grew up watching a lot of these movies, from the Blues Brothers to the French Connection. I love car chase movies. Now, it's safe to say that this game was also heavily inspired by Bullet. Obviously, it's got a Mustang in it. Being able to live out those car chase movies in 4 varied maps was incredible. Driver was well ahead of its time, and it's something that still blows my mind to this day where people say that Driver is a rip-off of Grand Theft Auto. That is just plain wrong. Driver was the first open-world game that I remember being completely 3D. Screeching around corners in a full drift in 3D on the PlayStation 1 was mind-blowing. Hell, Driver 2 came out about a year after Driver 1 and allowed you to walk about on foot. This was a year or so before Grand Theft Auto 3. I want to quickly talk about Driver San Francisco because it's not my favourite Driver. That would have to go to Driver Parallel Lines. But I'll get to that in a minute. Driver San Francisco did something mad. The creators of that game sat down, watched Life on Mars, and then were like, let's make a video game about it. And if you've never seen Life on Mars, Sam Tyler gets hit by a car in 2006 and wakes up in 1973. The entire show, you're wondering whether or not he's in a coma. And that is the entire plot of Driver San Francisco. The whole thing is an overblown dream sequence, and it's bloody amazing. The game's core mechanic is the fact that you can body swap. So let's say you're sat in Tanner's beautiful yellow and black Dodge Challenger RT, and you think, oh, let's jump into this family van. Well, you could do that. You take over the body of whoever was driving it. Now, this does make for some pretty funny moments when a passenger is sat next to you because they all have unique dialogue.
This is a car, sir, that says I have arrived. And I came much faster than you.
But it's so damn powerful. When am I gonna drive a monster like this?
Sir, the question isn't when am I gonna drive it, but hey ladies, who wants to go for a spin?
Oh yeah, this is the real deal. Way too much grunt for a greenhorn. I could get us into some serious trouble.
Yes, sir, you certainly could.
I'm just gonna floor it, okay?
Go right ahead. Okay, sir, let's head back to the office to discuss payment plans.
Fine. Let's get you back.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
We can still have some fun on the way, right?
Driver San Francisco was a love letter to the original Driver games, going as far as having the same intro but completely jazzed up. I love the intro music to Driver San Francisco. Simply put, it's amazing. It even brings back Tanner's nemesis, Charles Jericho, who appeared first in Driver 2, and he also went on to be the main antagonist in Driver 3, another game which I think had a very bad rap when it came out. But Driver San Francisco did something very different. It had this crazy idea about body swapping. It was the only game I'd ever known that did that. Plus, on top of that, the handling was great. There is a lot to this game. It even has these small mini games where you play through famous car chases throughout movie history. Now obviously the names aren't exactly the same, but you can tell what movie they're taken from. That's what the Driver series is. It's this amazing love letter to that era of movies, and I adore it. I think Driver gets put in the category of racing game, and I personally never put it in that. I would say it's mainly action-adventure or action-driving. There's not much racing to be had in Driver. It's about the car chases. Jump into the open world and floor it. That's all you have to do in Driver. So let's get to the elephant in the room, and that is Driver San Francisco being taken off everything. Now, thankfully, I already owned this game on Uplay, so I've been able to re-download it for this video. But if you're looking for this game on PC, or hell, even console, you're screwed because you can't buy this game unless you go to a pre-owned store. Back in 2017, I think they took it off of Steam, and they took it off of Uplay recently without telling anyone. And as I said, Nick Robinson's video was the first I'd heard of this, and I don't know why. Even Driver Parallel Lines is still available to purchase on Uplay. I think it's even still on Steam. So why take off Driver San Francisco? Now, I have a couple of ideas, and the idea mainly lies in the soundtrack. This game had a very diverse soundtrack. It was very big. But if you look at that, then you'd also look at Driver Parallel Lines, which had 2 eras worth of music. But I don't think that's it, because if you take a look at Grand Theft Auto, let's say, Grand Theft Auto have had all of their soundtracks slowly picked away over the years because, of course, copyrights end. Instead of getting into your Grey Admiral at the start of Grand Theft Auto Vice City and hearing the beautiful tones of Michael Jackson singing Billie Jean, you now get some random song. It's not the same. Now, as Nick said in his video, yes, there have been games taken off of stores before, and that includes Alan Wake, where Microsoft actually had to get the rights again to the music they used in the game, and now it's available for purchase again. But I'm going to tell you why I think that it's been taken off, and it's the cars. This was the first Driver to have licensed vehicles. Every single car you find in this game is licensed. None of the other driver games had that. Maybe one of the companies that had their car in the game didn't like it. Maybe they were like, well, you've only got a couple of years with this, and we want it taken off of stores after that. Now, it would be a lot harder to replace a car, especially if it was a certain Dodge Challenger, because that's kind of a mainstay of the entire game. Now, this is just speculation, but I think this may be why, as there is literally no other reason why this game has been taken off of stores. So for me, and I think every other fan of the Driver series, I want you to go in the description, go to this petition, and please sign it. Because I want Ubisoft to see that we actually give a damn about the Driver games, and honestly, we need to be heard. Also, Ubisoft, why? Why have you let this series die? I know that obviously Ubisoft Reflections have been put onto other things. They've been put onto The Crew. There are people out there, I know for a fact, who love the Driver series and want to see something else. So before I go, just to prove that I actually give a damn about this series, I'm going to tell you about my favourite Driver game, and that is Driver Parallel Lines. You play as TK the Kid. You have to say it like that because it sounds cool. And he lives with Ray, who is a mechanic. It's this guy. There he is. Also, he was in the prequel, Driver 76, back on the PSP. I've just realised now that the game's called Driver 76, and it's just giving me terrible nightmares about Fallout. By the way, highly recommend checking out Driver 76. It's incredible, and it's on the PSP, and it's practically the same game as Driver Parallel Lines. I don't know how the hell they did it. I put countless hours into that game when I was at college. But yeah, you are a young kid who is up and coming as a getaway driver, and you do certain missions for Slink and a few others, including the Mexican, who was voiced by Nolan North. Also, you end up working for a corrupt police officer called Corrigan. Now, as I've kind of made clear, the game takes place in two eras. Not only are you in the 1970s, but something happens around the middle of the game and you end up in prison and end up getting out in 2006. That game is two completely different games, and it's amazing. Everything changes. The cars, the people, literally landmarks, like so much effort was put into that game, and it still blows my mind. Plus, the ending is still one of my favourite video game endings ever. Also, that game was a very big inspiration in me starting doing YouTube videos. Driver Parallel Lines, I think, is the odd one out. Everyone seems to forget about it, and it's an absolute shame. I think it is the best driver. So Ubisoft, if you're watching this video, please, just please do something with Driver. At least say that it's dead. Just say, hey, you know what? We're sorry we didn't tell anyone, but it's gone. Don't worry about expecting another one. Because every E3, I sit there in high anticipation at every Ubisoft event, hoping for that teaser of something, and nothing ever comes. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about this because it's something that is very important and special to me, and something that I needed to get off my chest. Anyway, I want to hear your thoughts. Tell me in the comments below. Share this with Ubisoft. Please, share this with Ubisoft, as well as the petition. Just share this as much as you can. We need answers, basically, about my favourite video game series that is just been left in the dust. Thank you so much for watching, but until next time, that's me. Out. Bye, guys.